Hello there, people of the internet. Boy, oh boy, we are at that special time of year where it starts getting cold in Florida. And by cold, I mean it's like probably about upper 40s right now. So to some people, that's not that cold, but to me, a Floridian, my God, it's freezing out here. Anyway, that being said, even though it's cold out here, I have an obligation and a duty to make content for people that enjoy watching my videos. So, hey, if you enjoy watching my videos, this video is for you. I should probably button this up. If you want to support my work, then Patreon and Utreon links are in the description below. Any amount that you can give will definitely help me create content and create content more often and more valuable content. Speaking of value, this is a topic that I feel like a lot of people should know about, and not a lot of people do. I get a lot of novices and whatnot on the gun channel here who show up looking for answers to questions that they have. And this is a question that I get regularly. Shooting smokeless powder in a black powder rifle. This is an 1873 trapdoor Springfield. And as many of you know that watch this channel, this right here is a black powder rifle. Smokeless powder was not made until 1886 by the French, and it was not commercially available in the United States until 1894. However, this right here, despite being a black powder firearm, can also handle smokeless powder loads. And there's a very, what would I call it? A very good reason behind that. It's less, how would I describe this? It's less about the powder that you're using and more about the amount of pressure generated in the chamber whenever you pull the trigger and send your cartridge downrange. For example, black powder tends to burn at significantly lower pressures than smokeless powder, but there's smokeless powder, like specific smokeless powder loads that you can use to achieve roughly the same pressures as the black powder loads. You're going to use significantly less powder to achieve that, but you still achieve that using, well, less powder. Jesus Christ, I'm freezing out here. I'm about to cut through my shirt, guys. But it's less about the powder that you're using and more about the pressure curve of that powder and how much pressure you're actually going to have inside of that chamber. For example, if you have something like a stick powder that's designed to burn much slower, that is ideal for something that has a nice long barrel, because as the powder burns, the pressure inside of that chamber is going to retain itself, pushing the cartridge out of the barrel. Whereas if you have something with a nice short barrel, then you want a fast burning powder, because as that projectile pushes itself out of the barrel, it would be gone outside of the barrel and the pressure would drop before the powder's done burning, and then you'll have a bunch of unburnt powder, you know, flying out of the front of the barrel right there. So that's one of the big problems that you get whenever you cut down shorter barrels on full power cartridges. You get a lot of unburnt powder, and you don't get the real velocities that you want to get from whatever firearm it is that you're using. A lot of times these cartridges are designed for firearms that have nice long barrels, whereas in modern day, especially whenever you cut those down, you don't really reap those benefits. That was way more predominant with black powder cartridges, just because black powder didn't burn very efficiently. However, smokeless powder, you still definitely see that. That being said, with something with a nice long barrel like this, you can achieve full powder burns pretty damn easily, depending on the loadings that you're using and the cartridges that you're using. So you want to definitely know what you're doing, and you want to know the burn rate and the pressure amounts and XYZ data. You want to know how to load the cartridges for the particular firearm that you're using, basically just for safety reasons. Now, that being said, I actually have some smokeless powder 4570 right here, and according to the math that I have done using the brain inside of my skull, which is currently frostbitten right now, this right here should have zero problems. Like, this is actually a little on the anemic side for 4570, but this should have zero problems running through this trapdoor. As a matter of fact, black powder 4570 loads with, you know, proper black powder 405 grain bullets in this thing actually have more pressure than what the smokeless powder load is going to generate. Well, I hit my target. And that smokeless powder load, as you can see, we don't have this big old puff of black powder smoke that we have to contend with. But that smokeless powder load, after I use it, I don't have to clean my firearm. And then we just kind of eject our cartridge and we inspect it to make sure that there's no signs of overpressure. Yep, all that looks good to me. And in the event that I was taking this hunting, I'd load it with a spicier, smokeless powder loading to hit whatever it is I'm looking to hit. But since I'm just here at, oh, I don't know, 40 yards or so, showing this off on a YouTube channel at a gun range, spicy loadings are not necessary. It saves me on my shoulder, and it saves me on noise, and it's just a lot easier to shoot a cartridge like this. So let's set another round down range, because why not? I like this old thing. So we do get ourselves a little puff of smoke that comes out of it. That is smokeless powder that is being burned right now, despite the fact that this is a black powder firearm. But because I know what I'm doing whenever it comes to loading, basically just from experience. I don't want to call myself experienced, because there's a lot of people out there who are way more experienced than I am whenever it comes to loading. But whenever you are trying to figure out what loading your particular firearm likes, start off on the low end. You don't want to go too low. I'm going to make a whole video on exactly the issues as to why you don't want to do that. But start off on the low end and like slowly increase the pressures and pay attention to the brass that you're running. Make sure that there's no unusual bulging or unusual markings. Make sure that the primers aren't, you know, being expanded, and you don't see any rippling or anything like that. Those are signs of overpressure. But if you do pull the trigger with a hand load and something doesn't sound right, check, make sure you don't have a squib load or anything like that. This right here, we're not going to have a squib load. But despite the fact that this is a black powder rifle, I just fired smokeless powder through it. So as long as you know what you're doing, yeah, you can do that. And it is definitely a safe practice as long as you do it safely. Now, you don't want to load smokeless powder 4570 into something like this that is designed for a modern rifle, like they have incredibly hot, powerful 4570 loads out there, that you do not want to load into something like this because it cannot handle those pressures. However, what I was just running, the very lightweight stuff that I was just running, yeah, that has absolutely zero problem running out of this rifle. All right, well, ladies and gentlemen, thank you ever so much for watching. Like I said, those are going back on. Okay, it's a little on the nippy side. So it's kind of cold out here, but I wanted to come out and make a video for today anyway. And this right here was a good one that I felt like I wanted to make, because this is something that a lot of people talk about. I hear a lot of claims not to fire smokeless powder in a black powder firearm, but there's a lot of caveat to that, because if it's done properly, you can do it. It's all about the pressures inside of the chamber and how it's done, really. I mean, hell, those old Vetterli rifles, you can fire smokeless powder in those old Vetterli rifles as well, as long as you load the cartridges properly. So, yeah, with it being a black powder firearm, you don't necessarily have to run black powder in it, unless it's something that is, like, specifically, like, if it says run black powder in it, like a muzzle loader or something like that, then yeah, run black powder in it. Just the way that those systems are designed, you don't want to run smokeless powder in something like that. But a cartridge firing gun is kind of a different story, especially one that has a decent lockup system in it. Anyway, perhaps I'll talk about locking systems and their effectiveness, and how just the various kinds of locking systems out there and delaying systems. I feel like that would make a really cool video. Thanks for watching, folks. I appreciate your time. Like, subscribe, share. I'm going to go huddle in by a fire because I'm cold right now. You guys go off. Have yourself a fantastic day. while since I've done this. Bonnie and Clyde be damned. Poor man's Garrett. It's a shame that bolt-action shotguns aren't more mainstream.